The year is 2362. I'm an old man now, and I'm still repairing the Hydra. Welcome to Honey Badger 3D Print and Paint. Roll those credits. Hello, welcome back. So, this is garbage. So, here's where we are with the Hydra, right? I just want to run you through the things that have gone wrong in the last 4 months. When the machine turned up, I had to replace both the Z and the X ribbon cables. Both were damaged in transit. I had to replace the BL Touch. That never worked from when I received it. I had to change both of those myself. Tevo Up didn't send us any parts for those despite multiple requests. The only part we have received from Tevo Up is one of the 3 beds that have been on this machine. The original bed that was on here would heat but wouldn't hold the heat and just started dropping. That came off. Replaced it with actually a Sidewinder bed. That bed blew when the SSR on it died, so I had to replace the SSR as well. Cool. That's got 240 volts running through it, by the way, so that's super awesome. And then we also have the last bed, which is the bed that Tevo sent us, and that bed died yesterday when the thermistor broke. We also don't have a USB Type A port anymore because that doesn't work. And the filament sensor, if you have filament running through it, just randomly triggers all the time for no apparent reason. The thumb screw on the back of this machine you can't undo with your thumb, so that's not really a thumb screw, it's just a screw that you can't undo because there's also no tool head in it. There's no Phillips or flathead in it for you to be able to undo it with a tool, so that's great. I think that's pretty much everything. Oh, and then I flashed the firmware 5 times on this with Tevo Up giving me various different versions of the firmware. I now don't have a Tevo Up UI on here. The UI that's on here is a stock maker base one. And the laser doesn't work on this particular version that they gave me. We tested the laser on when we had the original UI. It kind of worked, but the design is really flawed. The problem is that when you put your material on this bed, you then can't cut through your material because you'd be burning straight into the glass. So what you have to do is you have to put a waste board on top of this that you have to fix down, and then you put your thing you're engraving on the top of that. And then once you've done all of that, then you can engrave. But if you haven't fixed it down particularly well, or very, very securely, I should say, then the material just moves about because the bed's flinging around and it's literally moving the stuff backwards and forwards. It's a really bad design. Nobody should be putting a laser on this machine. It's really terrible. Bearing in mind that this machine is for all intents and purposes a Sidewinder X1, basically, with a removable tool head. Okay. It is bad. We have had maybe 3 successful prints off of this in 4 months. I wanted to believe that Tevo Up was this rebirth that was going to bring some competition to, a relatively crowded market. It was going to drive down some of the prices for larger format machines. Which actually seems like G-Tech and Anycubic for the most part are driving that part, that metric. Or Sovol actually are doing a fantastic job at bringing down the cost of some of those large format machines. So there's this badly designed, badly executed. The reason why I'm saying it's badly designed is that in 4 months, I've had to do roughly around 4 years worth of maintenance on this. It's objectively bad. It looks fine, and it's fairly stylish looking, but it just doesn't do what it says on the tin. And it's very core of 3D printing. There is one thing that people want, and it's something that Prusa has capitalized on as part of their entire marketing model. They just want it to work. That's it. I want to put my SD card in, I want to press print, and I want to go and make myself a cup of tea. That's what I want to do. I want to click and forget. I don't really care what the features are that enable that to happen. I don't really care if it's cloud printing. I don't care if it's a proprietary slicer. I don't care if it's auto bed leveling. I don't care if it's got a little camera on it that can tell you whether or not something's broken. I don't really care. I just want it to work. At a base level, I want low maintenance. When there is maintenance, I want it to be easy. And after that, I'm really not that bothered. I'm really not that interested. The other features are cool and they might help you make better prints and they might make printing a little bit easier, but at its very core, it should work. And this doesn't. It just doesn't. When I did my review, I'm pretty sure I gave this a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10. It's getting a 2. This is a 2, which means it's only 2 points above not having a printer at all. I'm very lucky. I have other machines. I have my X1, I have my Voron, we'll have the Rat Rig V-Core coming soon. We've got the Hornet, we've got multiple other machines. We've got the X2, we've got the longer LK5, we've got multiple machines that we are able to use instead of having to use this. If I had separated with 569 American pesos that produced this steaming turd, and I was then forced to have to interact with it because I have no other options. Because this is my machine. This is what I have. This is what I'm using. I don't have a choice. It's my only printer, so I have to get it working. I would be so angry, I'd want to do a return. I've spoken to multiple makers. I am not isolated in this. Tevo Up have either not sent parts or taken months for them to be delivered because they have no stock in people's countries. They don't have the infrastructure to be able to deliver those parts. So as I say, of everything that is broken, we have had one bed. We have asked for everything else. I asked for a new SSR, I asked for new X and Z cables, I asked for a new BL Touch, I asked for a new breakout board that has a Type A port in it, and I got none of those. All I got was a new silicone bed. And guess what? After one print, where we were printing a helmet, oh yeah, that broke as well because the thermistor died. That's it. This is an insult to the community. Tevo as a brand died because the community did not stand behind it in the same way they stood behind the likes of Creality and other companies available at the time. Homer came along. We've delisted our Homer video because Homer died. Homer died before it even got out of the gate. And then they bring out Tevo Up. And I wanted to believe in them. I really did. I wanted to believe that they were going to rise from the ashes like a phoenix, rather than just walk into a room and throw a petrol bomb at everyone. If I had separated myself from my hard-earned cash and this was what I had, I would be effervescent. I would be enraged. And most importantly, I would be insulted. If you have two brands that fail, you had better make sure that your third brand is knocking it out of the park. The main point of my last review is that when this works, it's good. And I suppose really that hasn't materially changed. When everything on this works, it is a pretty good machine. But what it actually is fine, not great. And you're going through so much. It's like an abusive relationship where you're just telling you every time you get a black eye that it was your fault, he'd had a really hard day at work. This is an abusive partner. This is a toxic relationship that we have with each other. I pour in parts and it spits directly in my face. I need to go to a refuge after working on this. I've got repetitive strain injury on my hand from doing up the 16 million screws that sit underneath this base plate so I can access the inside of it. It's bad. I should not be doing 2 years worth of maintenance in 4 months. This machine is not getting repaired. It's not worth my time. I may strip it for the 3 parts that might be useful on another machine. Or what I'll more than likely do is I will strip all of the parts and I will buy half a dozen parts from artillery and I'll just turn it into an X1. Because the stepper motors are probably fine. All of the bed cables and everything are already here. I would just buy a new artillery bed, buy new artillery, all the artillery internals, stick a new screen on it, buy an X carriage and stick a tool head on it, and then I've got an X1. And I may very well just end up doing that. Because what this is hot garbage. When the SSR dies, that is a concern for me. That's just a safety thing. That SSR is connected to the mains. It's 240 volts going through that SSR, and when that dies, people can die. And if you think I'm giving my life for this, why? Why am I putting myself through this abusive relationship to get something out of the end of it that's fine? It's like a trailer park wife who just goes, oh, well, I'm going to stay with him because he's a crane driver and you know he's going places. What's the point? Why abuse yourself? Tevo Up has decided that they are content with the quality that this machine has, to the point as to which it appears to be my fault that their machine has broken. Because I'm not getting any more parts, so it's really up to me to try and figure out how the hell I'm supposed to get this to work, and I'm now not interested. I don't particularly want it to work. I'm not bothered. I will just put this machine to one side, I will strip it for parts, I will probably keep the lead screws because they are at least straight, which is mind-blowing to me. I'll keep the motors, I'll maybe rip the BMG tool head off of it. I'll keep a couple of fans, and that's it. This is a collection of parts that should not be brought together, that has done an okay job at printing when it does print, but that is so rare at this point. It's like saying, Jesus did a great job at walking on water, but statistically the amount of people who ever walked on water is so small in that it's one person, it's irrelevant that he ever did it. That's what makes it a miracle that he did that. Well, it's a miracle that this ever prints. There's nothing else to say about this, guys. This is an update. It's the last update you will see. You will not see this machine on the channel again. I have absolutely no interest in giving it any more airtime, any more of my emotional support, any more of my time. Because it's not worth it. So the original review, ignore. It's not a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10. Because it's so rare that this actually does a good job, it's a 2. There is a main reason why I'm making this video as well, which is that we have been accused on the channel before of being overtly positive. Outside of the Weebooks, obviously. But there are times where we get trash machines. And we do give those machines trash reviews. Can't buy a good review on this channel. Even if hypothetically Tevo Up had given us all the parts we asked for, I'd have still given this a trash review. Because that would have meant there'd be even more things that I'd have had to have done to it, and I don't want to. This machine is bad. Tevo Up's support has been non-existent, but also bad. There is a reality that this isn't worth your time. It certainly isn't worth your money. And there are so many alternatives in this space that will serve you so much better than this has done. You could buy a G-Tech A30, the new Anycubic Cobra, I think it is. You could buy a Sidewinder X1 or 2. You could buy the new CR10 Smart Pro that's just come out. Hell, You could buy an Ender 3 and put an extender kit on it, and at least it wouldn't be this steaming pile of turd. There is no point to buying this machine. It is just work. And the other people who I have spoken to who have had this machine, some of them have had it working okay, but not after a pretty considerable level of effort on their part. Everybody I have spoken to has had some issue that has required them to do something to this. Nobody has had it working out of the box. Now, there may be instances where people have had it working out of the box and it is working well. And a broken clock is right twice a day, but you don't want to sit and try and tell time with it, right? It is statistically possible that there is one of these machines that isn't complete garbage, but it isn't this one. So much like a ginger kid, I'm going to leave this in the woods to be raised by wolves, because they've got more of a chance of either A, caring about it, or B, fixing it than I have. So that's it. Review over. It's not a positive one. I'm objectively angry that we've had to make it. I wanted to believe in Tevo Up. I wanted to support them. And this is what they did to the community. And if nothing else, it's rude. So, take what you will from that, guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We've got some actually good printers coming up that you probably should spend a little bit of your money on. So keep an eye out for those, and we'll see you next time. Bye.